welcome to another episode of Under the Moon and Over the Sky. This is Charles from Chicago. Today I want to talk to you about how low can you go? How low does the peso have to devalue before you abandon your dream? Can you tolerate the peso to go down to 20 to the dollar? Or maybe you need to bail when it's 30 to the dollar or somewhere in between. Just one of those points that I've never heard discussed when talking about how much does it cost to live in the Philippines. Now, I've heard some excellent points of view from many of the expats there, and wisely they have said that, or they haven't said, a specified amount. I've heard of expats living on as little as $500 a month. But most of the budgets that I have heard about and read about come in around $1,200 a month. I guess it all depends on the type of life you're living there. Obviously, if you're going to try to live a Western lifestyle in the Philippines, it's going to cost you a lot more than doing as the Romans do. In my quest to retire to the Philippines, I've considered what I feel comfortable with, and that's about $2,500 a month. Obviously, I don't plan to spend that much, but it's just a nice round figure I feel comfortable with. And I base my figures on the peso being at 40 pesos to the dollar. I believe currently it's 44.32 or something like that. I'm not very good with holding figures in my head, so I'm going to have to refer down to my notes for some of the points that I want to discuss today. Let's look at just your fixed or semi-fixed cost every month to retire, let's say, in the Dumaguete area. We're looking at rounding numbers off, rent 20,000 pesos a month. For two people, food 15,000 pesos a month, water 3,000, electric 5,000, internet 3,000, cell phone 3,000 pesos. So just on fixed items alone, in my budget, I'm already at $1,225 for the month, which is still far less expensive than what my expenses are here in Chicago. Now let's look at some other items in very, very rough estimate terms. Entertainment and island hopping. Obviously, you're not going to do this every week, but you may. So I budgeted that at about $8,000 or 8,000 pesos a month. Gas for a scooter, 3,000 pesos for the month, and other miscellaneous things such as tips, trikes, jeeps, 5,000 pesos a month. So let's tack on another $525 for the month, for a total of about $1,850 per month. Now, with that said, I really wouldn't feel comfortable retiring in the Philippines, becoming an expat on less than $2,500 a month. Now, my thinking is, what is the purpose of retiring in your dream place, in your paradise, if you have to be stressed out about the budget the same way you've been in the U.S.? Now, I'm sure there are many there on less than that, but for me, that's a nice minimum figure. Now let's look at some initial setup costs. There's temporary lodging to be had while you're looking for a place. Let's say that's 2,000 pesos per day for 7 days. You should be able to find some place suitable within that amount of time if you really put your mind to it. So that's 14,000 pesos right off the top. Furniture, let's say for 2 bedrooms, a living room, kitchen appliances. Now, Henry over at Life Beyond the Sea scored a really nice solid set for 2,500 pesos, 2,500 pesos. And Chris over at Britain, the Philippines, got a used ref for 3,500, and let's say based on what Rike paid for a sala, you should be able to furnish 2 bedrooms to some comfortable degree for about 5,000 pesos. Uh, Usually, just like in the U.S., the landlords they're asking for a 1 month's rent, a 1 month deposit. So, based on my budget, that would be about 40,000 pesos to start. Now, Ned and Michelle over at Philippine Dreams found their pink house, and I don't recall how much they pay for rent, but I do know that they did some things to make the place more personalized for them. And I know that that additional work was not free. I believe they had some painting done. Uh, Later on, they had like an awning placed over the carport. So let's just say tack on another 15,000 pesos for that. Aircon, let's say 10,000 pesos. Gas stove, 4,000 pesos. And then let's tack on another 5 or 6,000 pesos for curtains, pots, pans, just those things that make you comfortable, things that you'll need. So already with rounding those costs up, I'm at about 110,000 pesos or about $2,800 just initial setup cost. Now, one thing that I noticed in following some of the Philippine expat YouTubers is usually within that first 12 to 18 months, they have had some type of fairly serious medical problems. I don't know whether that comes from adjusting to the lifestyle over there or were these pre existing conditions that were just exacerbated by being there. I know Ned had like a freak accident on his motorcycle. He hit a bump and it cracked some vertebrae or something to that effect. But in any case, these medical issues that they had really, kind of hit their bank accounts pretty hard. I know Ned had to go to Cebu for some type of treatments. Henry, on the other hand, was down with some type of flu or virus for a couple of weeks. So bearing all that in mind, my plan is to create my own medical flex plan. So before I even leave the US, I plan on having roughly $2,000 in that fund. And each month, I am going to add $50 to that fund. One thing for sure, as you get older, health does not get better. So, with any luck, my stay in the Philippines will be a long one. And I'm not immune to having health problems. And so this fund will be there. It won't necessarily break my monthly budget, in the event that I have to use it. Another thing I looked at was uh, an emergency fund. Now, I don't want to confuse this with an exit strategy fund. That's, to me, are two separate issues, and I'll discuss an exit strategy fund at a later date. But let's say, I'm there and, oh, I don't know, for some reason there is, a problem with my sources of income in the U.S. and transferring funds, or, anything could happen. So I'm kind of using the U.S. Rule of thumb for an emergency fund, which is 3 months of maximum expenses. And so if I'm basing my maximum monthly expenses or my maximum monthly income at 2,500, then I'd like to have an emergency fund of 7,500 again once before I ever even leave the US. For me, not having any family to speak of here in the US, and really no place to reach out for any type of assistance, I feel that it's best for me to just go ahead and have that money put aside. Um, Now, again, I know that there are expats there and guys who are planning to retire on far less income than that per month, and that's fantastic. Uh, I just don't have that type of faith or courage, if you will, to be caught up in a place where I know no one, basically do not speak the language, and believe that faith is going to carry me through. I'm not knocking those that have that type of faith, um, and I wish them all the luck. But for me, uh, I'm not that much of a guy who just leaps out on faith. So, thank you for viewing. These are just some thoughts I had on the subject of how much does it cost to retire in the Philippines. Uh, if you liked the video, please give a thumbs up. If you disliked it or disagree, give a thumbs down. In any case, please subscribe. Until next time, this is Charles from Chicago with